Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest Anfield Index Under Pressure podcast. A very special Under Pressure podcast because we have signed somebody, and we've signed somebody for a lot of money. And these podcasts are always very exciting. We're going to do a deep dive on Darwin Nunez. Unfortunately, we don't have Rhodesy, and we don't have Bart's. Bart's has fortunately been called into an Ofsted inspection as uni. So good luck with that, Phil. That's going to be keeping you busy. But the great news is for everybody, I do have the hardest working man in sports science, Mr. Simon Brundish. He's managed to find time in his busy schedule to get an hour in to talk about Darwin Nunez. How are we, Si?
Yeah, I'm good. Had some cancellations this afternoon. So I end up having a little bit more time to have a look through a video or two. People on here will be fully aware of my my interests in players that don't play for Liverpool, and they basically generally end at Glenn Hoddle 40 years ago.
The most important thing is, as soon as they do sign for Liverpool, you become extremely interested in them, don't you, at that point?
Absolutely. Sign me up.
Yeah.
And if they're fast, that's it. The next love of my life.
Yeah. But was the gap in your schedule because maybe the ATP Tour match competition didn't go on as long as planned or something like that?
Something along those lines.
A gap opened up, I like it. Right, okay. So anyway, we are going to talk about Darwin Nunez, potentially, a club record signing if all goes to plan and we end up paying. I mean, I guess if we end up paying everything we need to pay, then he's been a rip-roaring success and could be costing up to £85 million, or is it 80? Was that right? £85 million, 68 million guaranteed.
Yeah, I think it goes up to 85 million, doesn't it? Like, do we ever adjust for inflation? Because I'm fairly sure with this inflation rate, this is about the amount we pay for Dean Saunders.
Yeah, I wonder if it's changed much since VVD, because we have had COVID, haven't we, and stuff like that. But yeah. Anyway, that would be interesting. See what's happened with football figures. But yeah. First of all, I guess just reaction. It is obviously a big deal to spend this much money on a player. I mean, so there is a reason why club records exist, and this is. Did you see this coming, Si?
Yeah, well, there was talk in the grapevine, wasn't there, about it? But I thought he was going to United. Weirdly, some coaches that I know that literally coach him at Benfica, they thought he was going to United as well, just last weekend. So like a week ago. And we swooped in and stole him. He's like the big ticket item of the summer, isn't he? He is like after Haaland, who was always going to City because he supported them his whole life.
But he supports them so much, he's got a release clause after 2 years, hasn't he?
Is that right? That's hilarious. Oh God, what a huge money grab! His dad's a genius, by the way. But with this, no, it's fun. I love South American. Like I was even fully in Sebastian Coates.
There's a name.
Yeah, Jesus, Mark Gonzalez. Give me a South American. I love them. They work. They're absolute nuts off.
Gabriel Paletta.
Oh yeah, even he was a bit of a grok. I thought he was going to stab somebody at one point, but I remember watching him in the reserves. Jesus, he couldn't have fit a stereotype more succinctly. But yeah, this is exciting. This by all accounts, he is a headliner, isn't he? He is potentially the next great young striker. But probably if we're going to have a group of to replace. you're never going to replace Messi, but Messi, Ronaldo, Suarez, and Neymar. And kind of we've had Lever and Benzema sneak in around the same age, but like they were a different echelon until the others aged out, and now that those guys are taken off as world leaders. But I reckon below that you've got Mbappe, Haaland, and by all I think a lot of people think that he might be the third.
Yeah. Now you've already mentioned Benfica there. I mean, the sports science world is very small. So a bit of a goldfish bowl. But it does give you the opportunity to speak to people who've actually already worked with this player physically on the training ground, and what on the physical side, on the physiological side. Can you give us any nuggets, any things that you've already found out?
Well, the sports science world is kind of small. Everyone's been to conferences with each other all across Europe, or done research with each other. Everybody knows each other, so I'd had a chat about this on the rumor that he might potentially come to us or go to United. The boys were adamant he was going to United, as two of them are United fans.
That's like Spurs and Diaz, to be honest. And then a big team comes in and then just said, nope, none of that. We're going to step in now and take over.
It really feels like us in 2012.
Yeah.
It feels like the reverse. In 2012, we were after, just
Diogo Costa.
Yeah, exactly.
We were trying to. We had a targeted Diogo Costa, and then big team comes in. No, that's not happening.
And Salah and a Konoplyanka who didn't end up anywhere, but thankfully
Mkhitaryan was another one as well. Yeah,
and there was another Brazilian that went to China.
Yeah,
but a whole bunch of those lads that we had these big grand proclamations amongst the leaking press of friends of Liverpool people. And we were going to sign them for relatively big money, and then Chelsea come knocking on the door,
or somebody like that,
or Arsenal get Mkhitaryan.
Yeah, no, it was Dortmund who got Mkhitaryan, I think. Yeah. Anyway, but it doesn't really, a big team basically comes in.
And there is nobody bigger than us right now. If you remember, in 2012, 2013, or no, 2015, as recently as 2015, when Brendan was trying to spend the Suarez money. Yeah. There were lots of reasons why not. They wouldn't come to us. Like starting off with winning stuff for a start, right? The potential of winning stuff. The potential of playing with a great coach, the potential of great players being around, actual recent history of success, the ability to pay both world-class salary and world-class transfer fees. Yeah. And now we've removed between FSG and Mike Edwards and Klopp over the last 5 years. You've removed all of those barriers. Yeah. We've talked on UP for a long time now. I never thought we would be back at the top table. I thought it was totally down to the oligarchs. The Russian, the oil money, and Man United, who pimped off Sky 25 years ago. Yeah. And I thought it was impossible for us to break back into the top table, and now we're properly sat at the head of the top table.
Yeah, and I guess we are an analytics show. I mean, the primary reasons we've got there, apart from having a world-class coach, are fantastic use of analytics, bleeding edge, really getting ahead of the game. That's become our competitive advantage. And player trading, just a string underpinned by analytics, of course, just a string of great sales and great signings, and this is, I guess this is the one thing that everybody in public who is not Liverpool fans are saying is that this is not like the classic Liverpool profile signing of the last 5 years under Klopp, right? But everybody's saying, well, we're not going to bet against this because it's Liverpool, because of Liverpool's track record. Now, obviously, we have to make a mistake at some point, right? We have to acknowledge that we are going to sign a bad player at some point again. It cannot continue forever. But at the moment, the discourse in public is very much that, I mean, it's expensive. He's young. There's not that much data. But it's Liverpool. If they've gone for it, so I mean that's where we are. That our track record is basically speaking for itself.
It's absolutely phenomenal. Our track record of identifying talent, But also, that started right at the beginning of Klopp. We had a great talent ID before Klopp arrived.
Yes.
Then we had Klopp arrived so that we could, with his reputation, he could recruit for himself. People wanted to play for him.
Yeah.
But then, bit by bit, he has developed and installed a world-class backroom staff. So we have the very best nutritionist in the world. We have some of the best sports science staff. But we have we have one of, I would say, I would probably go top, but definitely objectively top 5 performance systems from the top down of the holistic operations of the club, from the CEO through the football director, through Klopp, through the whole sports science and medical staff. That there's one uniform decision-making process, which has all of Amazon Cloud to utilize all of the data input streams that we have from every player, from how they slept, from the calories they've eaten, the type of macronutrients they have, from the blood test results this week, through GPS data from matches and from training. All of this stuff to optimize who's playing, who can't, when is the best for them each to play. And the manager absolutely trusts that process in the system, so we can utilize it in a way that no other club does.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, so just on the what you were going to say, then we got sidetracked. On the physical side, anything about his strength, his stamina, his speed, his physical condition side? Can you give us any insights on that?
So, without giving specific numbers away, everybody knows about the physical testing, the basically the endurance testing that the lads do with a lactate test before, where they're doing a big 800-meter lap around poles, and then to time, and it gradually increases speed. And they keep giving them blood tests every time they do around on the ear prick, and every year James Milner wins. Everybody knows this, and he would be in the top 5. Darwin is a physiological beast. So he has. I was tweeting about it the other day because people got offended about me thinking I was criticizing him when I wasn't in any way at all. I was trying to find out, without knowing anything about him, what qualities that he could be bringing that Klopp wants, so we can evolve as a team. Because really, without knowing any particular details of him, he looks like, from a player profile perspective, he's a big, strong, fast lad who can head a ball. He can take people on. He looks like Divi, and I might be one of the least fans of Divi in the world, definitely as a Liverpool fan, but Klopp talks of him as a world-class finisher. He talks about him all the time. He's the best finisher at the club. And we know how Klopp likes to blow smoke up people's ass. But, along with the Liverpool legend stuff that Liverpool fans love about Divi, I genuinely asked the question, highlighting their per 90 stats this season, or across their careers, in fact, what is it that he does better than Divi does, so that I can kind of ascertain what we think Klopp wants? What skill set is he bringing?
So you're basically saying that Darwin's the Divi replacement.
Yeah, is he?
Or the upgrade, should we say? The Divi upgrade, yeah.
And you're not going to upgrade a lad that Klopp actively doesn't play. He doesn't choose to play. So if Klopp's paying this kind of money, what are the qualities he wants to solve what tactical issue? Yeah. Because if it's worth this much money, he's doing something tactically to
so we're going to talk about tactics later on the agenda.
Yeah, so my point is that he actually is not Divi. He is better at the things Divi does, and he does some very different stuff by all accounts. But Divi is nowhere near as fit as him. So one of the comparisons was that he doesn't press because, it wasn't my conclusion that he doesn't press, but the data doesn't show any evidence of him pressing, which is probably down to tactical system, team style. Yeah. Because Divi's not a hard presser, but he presses more than twice as much as him. But that's going to be a team style thing. But my point is that knowing his fitness data, he absolutely has the work capacity to press like a monster. In fact, right up there with the highest volume pressers in our team. I think.
So yeah, you can't give the precise numbers away, but you said he was top 5. Would that be for speed or acceleration or endurance or all of the above?
It's endurance. So he'd be top 5 in the endurance tests.
Brilliant.
Right. But then also his speed. Well, he basically was described to me by a Benfica coach as a rapid Batistuta. And I was like, okay, I'll take that. That's good for me. Because Batistuta is probably my favourite non-Italian player last 30 years, I'd say. And like he's good, but the point being, he has top speed recorded of 36.7 kilometers an hour. So he's doing like 9.9 meters per second, and that's elite top speed. So we're talking as fast. He would easily fit into our front three. It would be a race between, depending on which distance, it would be a race between him, Mo, Mane, Diaz.
It came out this week that Virgil had said, obviously given his 2 penneth on the rounds of consultancy to the club, and said, yeah, he was a very, very difficult opponent when he played him in the away leg at Benfica. Based on his speed numbers and Virgil's, do you think it's pretty close in terms of top speed?
Yeah. It's very close with top speed. Virgil's had a 36.7 recorded before.
Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it. But yeah, 6'2", 1m87, 80 kilos. I mean, he's a big boy, isn't he, for 22-year-old?
I've seen his profile numbers. He's 189.
Wow. Okay. And weight, 80 kilos, accurate?
Yeah, 82.
Oh.
So he's a strong boy.
So 82 kilos in Old Money, that's almost 12 stone, right?
No, 12.4, 12.5.
Okay.
I weigh, it might even be a little bit heavier than that. I weigh 76 kilos. I'm at like 11 and a half.
Okay. Wow. So he's a prime. He's a hunk of Uruguayan prime beef, then, basically.
Yeah. He's not quite as muscular as probably he's not quite as heavy as Virgil, but he's that kind of physical specimen.
In terms of other centre forwards, are we thinking? He sounds bigger than Torres to me. I looked at his videos. Yeah, I do like him. He does remind me of Torres on the videos, but that's bigger than Torres, right? Those
he is, yeah. Well, he's not. He's taller than Torres, and he's probably bigger than Torres when he played for us. But Torres now, his biceps bigger than his chest.
Oh yeah, with his Torres, the gym owner. Yeah. Torres can bench press.
But he very much he does actually remind me of Torres.
Yeah. In when you watch him on the video, I think so. But when you
and he was same age when we signed him.
If you're telling me 36.7 kph top speed plus 1m89 plus 82 kilos, that's a lot of power, Si.
Yeah,
that must translate to a lot of power.
But it's divvy. But with the will to use it.
I love it. Right. Okay. Just a quick one. Right. Before we move on, slight negative one. The recurring knee injury 3 separate times. Do you have any intel on that? And are you bothered?
Wasn't a recurring knee injury. It was a different knee injury. And only one was of any concern. It was fixed. So no,
that was the one last summer. Yeah.
Yeah. But also, he a little bit more in his history. He had a thing called severs, which as he was growing, he had a really fast, a rapid late growth spurt, and so
is that what we call shin splints?
No, that is Osgood-Schlatter's disease, but it's similar.
Yeah,
and both are very, very, very common in academy footballers. And
lads who grow rapidly in a short space of time. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so you think it was related to that more like growing pains kind of thing?
Early ones were, yeah, because he's still young, properly. Yeah. So last season was the last one. So I think he's good.
Just in comparison, Divi, 1m86, 75 kilos. So yeah, close, very close. Just a little bit heavier and a little bit big, a little bit taller.
I also don't believe Divi weighs less than me. No, I'm
Well,
not saying he's fat at all.
I don't know how.
His
I don't know.
size are about 15 times the size of mine.
I don't know how often FBref update their height and weight numbers. You'd like to think they update them more than once, wouldn't you?
Well, I also don't think that so no official figures are ever published.
Right.
So the club don't actually need to share any data about height and weight, and I think it's largely a guess.
Okay. And maybe if they put it on the wiki profile or something.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's good news on the injury anyway. Then. Right.
Particularly, just for reference to people, in England, it's illegal.
Is it? It's share height and weight. Okay.
Yeah. It crosses two things: a GDPR, but also health, medical.
Private,
private medical contracting stuff, and so like unless there's specific data released from like an agreement with FIFA Pro or with FIFA specifically with the player, that it can't be done.
Yeah. Right now, very important conversation here for you, Si. Right now, we've already talked about he's young, 22. Right. This is one of the eternal topics in all sports, not just football, about when do players, how do they progress from being youth to senior, and how do we interpret signals from noise in performance data, especially in this difficult period of transitioning from a youth player with youth output to a grown man and their adult output. When do players make the leap? Obviously, there's lots of different. It's different for everybody, obviously, and how do we go about interpreting what we call breakout seasons? Because I think it's fair to say Darwin's just had his in Portugal. So give us your thoughts on that whole journey from youth to senior and how we interpret it, how we interpret the data.
I think it's different to each club, for each country. For a start, because it's easier to break in some countries, particularly some of the Latin countries that sell off their best players to foreign countries. So the quality of veteran, we might say in American sports, will be lower because in Portugal, Moutinho's playing in the champion in England. Do you know what I mean? So it's easier for youngsters to break into their at decent level as well.
Yeah.
So they get to play Champions League football, where in England it's much harder to do. So in Holland, in Portugal, and probably in France in the lower clubs, that stuff is easier because they have such a high rate of emigration of their best players. So that's interesting. I like to from once. So basically, a good player is going to have clocked up more than 3,000 minutes by the time they're really 22. That was Arsene Wenger's rule, and they would start to be performing like an adult in slightly shorter, maybe stunted minutes by the time they're 21. Otherwise, they're not going to make it at all. And the best ones, they're generally broken in by the time they're 19. And we're talking like almost 2,000 minutes as a 19-year-old. Almira, was that what he was?
I've just put it into the live show chat site. Tried to put as much as I can into a single dashboard just to give everybody an idea. So his career journey, he went from South American Uruguayan First Division, played for Penarol in Montevideo. So he played almost 2,000 minutes there in the Uruguayan First Division and the Copa Libertadores. And then he moved across to Almeria in the Spanish Second Division, age 20. He played one season for Almeria before he got I believe Benfica bought a club. It was a club record signing for Benfica.
No.
And then age 21, he clocks up 4,139 minutes. This is including Uruguay minutes as well. But at age 21, that's a big number, right?
That's a big jump as well, but it's actually not such a big jump because the numbers you've got, they don't FBref don't tend to track age group, international age group minutes. So age 19, the 1918 minutes in Uruguay, he would have also been playing age group football as well.
Yeah, and I should have said these are all from Y-Scout, right? So, and I have actually got these are actually all competitions, total minutes, including Uruguay and Uruguay age group. So they are in as well. So
wow, then that's a big jump. So yeah, basically. Industry practice would be no more than 30% increase year on year.
Yeah, that's almost double. 20 to 21.
Yeah, no surprise he got a bit of an injury at the end of that.
Yeah, but to have got a 4K minute season age 21, that's got to be that's a big milestone almost in his, because that's what he'll be playing for Liverpool probably. 4K.
Well, if he justifies his fee, he's going to be playing like well over 3,500 for sure.
Yeah. So the slight decline this season due to the minutes, and then all the other all the other metrics I've put in there. We've got shots, we've got his shooting metrics, non-penalty XG and XA, and the actual goals and assists. And I guess the thing is, Si, you say you're going to start playing in a first team as a junior, and you want to be showing some level as a team while you're still a teenager, and then you'll be wanting to get, by age 21, you'll be wanting to have significant contributions in the first team. At your when would you say a player would get to their peak numbers or start exhibiting what you might call peak numbers? What's the trajectory, especially for forwards?
So I've looked at these for across. It's definitely specific, position specific, but it's also attribute specific as well. So so forwards peak younger than midfielders and much younger than defenders, centre backs, but also fast forwards peak earlier, and slow forwards tend to peak later than everybody else. So the slow forwards generally are peaking 28, 29, and that can even last until they're 32, 33. Their general peak with less than 10% drop off from their peak year. So they tend to have a flatter peak, and the fast forward. So
like Darwin.
I don't. He seems to be a bit of a hybrid. So one of the exceptions to this is Thierry Henry, but he's a genius. So it's tough to weigh up genius against speed. Do you know what I mean? That you've got unicorns that like Ronaldo's still scoring elite number of goals at 47, but yeah, you're always going to have unicorns. But in general, it works that the peak year age for a fast forward is 24.6. The peak age for a slow forward is 28.2 for a big one. And the peak usually lasts 3 years in a slow forward, in a fast forward, and it lasts for just over 4 years in a slow forward. So we are getting him at the beginning of his peak.
Yeah. So last season was his breakout season, and that's almost like that should hopefully be a predictor of his peak performance years.
Yeah, you could probably add about I would go 15% onto last season will be his peak year.
Yeah. So let's have a quick
last season was really good.
Yeah, let's have a look at some of the numbers here in this thing. So last season he had 2.8 shots. So there's a steady trajectory up over the last 3 seasons. You can see from 2.5 shots in Almeria, 2.6 and 2.8. Which is a really good. He's not shot shy, that's for sure. Which is always a good thing in a striker. The non-penalty XG and the XA are basically increasing on the age as well. What's interesting is that last year he was getting good levels of XG and XA. So the season before last, age 21. But he underperformed, if you like, there. So he didn't have the overall massive goals numbers of this season, but his expected numbers were still good. Whereas this season he's actually converted more, and his goal involvement this year is down to every 90 goal or assist every 98 minutes. Now that's a pretty impressive number, isn't it? Saying every goal or assist every 98 minutes.
You sign me up for that. Yeah, that is probably 10 to 15% improvement on what we generally get out of a centre forward.
Yeah. So on the shooting, his shot accuracy is very good. Almost 50% over the last three seasons. Getting almost 50% of his shots on targets. That is unusual. That's very high, and that's probably one reason why his conversion rate is good as well, because there's the old adage, the Samuel Eto'o, the Sadio Mane style. basically just get it within the frame of the goal and blam it. You don't necessarily have to place it; just get it on target and hit it hard, and it'll go in a lot of the time. So his shooting accuracy is very high. One thing it'll be interesting to track is just how far his shots are from goal on average next season, and see what he's getting. Because is it all his shooting with Benfica, or is it his shot locations he's getting into? That's not quite possible to show at this point. But
looking at the actual goals he scored, that I could probably go through and count them, but he had a lot of the kind of goal we were scoring 17-18, the breakaway goal.
Right.
He was getting a lot of one-on-one or that in transition.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, which will obviously be different if teams play low block against us, but we'll come on to that in a minute, the tactical. His XG per shot is pretty consistent as well, around about 0.17 over the last 3 seasons. And then you can see the big red line on the chart on the top row, second from the top, is the bed line on the shot conversion. You can see that gone up from about 15% the previous 2 seasons to 27% last season. And then the bottom left chart is the goals, the non-penalty goals minus non-penalty XG. So he's almost 11 over his so we could say that's hot. We look at the seasons before, slightly under his XG on those previous 3 seasons, but then on his breakout year, he's just gone supernova. So anything else you want to pick up before we move on, Si?
No, that's awesome. Can I just add a little bit of historic context, because we're going to go down the comparison with our other forwards, aren't we?
Yeah.
At age, I've ran through, just put in the chat.
Oh, we'll do that. We'll do it now. We'll do the
Okay.
We'll do the Nunez scouting report after that. We'll do it with our other forwards now. Yeah.
So age 22 seasons of Suarez, Kane, Shevchenko, Thierry Henry, Lewandowski, Batistuta, Torres, and Cavani. Who I would say any of those, if we could have any of that kind of output,
any of them, yeah.
Yeah, like we've probably earned, we've probably spent about a quarter of the money of the value we'll get.
Yeah.
And he sits second in the goals and assists per 90 list, behind Suarez, who was at Ajax at the time. But like 2.25 goal and assist per 90, 2.53 is Suarez, and next is Kane at 1.87. And Kane in that had Europa League and the Mickey Mouse Cup to fill his boots on that season as well. But like, so if we can, these great players at 22, Thierry Henry was 1.36, and that's a phenomenal return. But Darwin is probably 1.7 times that. So if he's going to come down because he's not playing in Portugal anymore. But if he can normalise that down to about 1.2, that's Salah.
Yeah, his output there is pretty astonishing.
So Mane this season was 0.87.
Yeah.
So he was almost 3 times Mane.
Yeah.
So this, it's quite good. We can expect something very decent. Is my feeling on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So just one thing. I think there was Sam Maguire has got his own on the UP Discord. He's got a Radars channel now. Put loads of Nunez Radars on there. One that interested me the most was the one he put out with Nunez at Benfica with Jota at Wolves, because they both neither of them benefited from the Liverpool uptick in their performance data. It was pre-signings, and so what we did with the Diaz pod was we looked at the player we're signing in for 2 whole seasons before they joined us, which means over 4,500 minutes in a sample, big sample size. And what we've got here is we've got Nunez looking against Mo Salah when he was at Roma, Sadio Mane at Southampton, Diogo Jota at Wolves, and Luis Diaz at Porto. And so obviously Salah's seasons here going all the way back to 2015-16 season for him, and 2014 for Sadio Mane. So, but what you can see is here some really healthy attacking numbers. Now, obviously, we have to say that Nunez is primarily a centre forward, even though he did start out as a wider player in his younger days. But he primarily plays as a centre forward, so you have to expect his shots and goals are going to be higher than because he's a pure striker as opposed to a wide player because of the other players here. But I think the thing that fascinates me, Si, is that you look at these things and it's almost like Liverpool are going to have some kind of monitoring system looking at all the Y-Scout and Stats Bomb and all the other data sources. And as soon as a player hits a load of levels on there, he's going to have alert set. There's just going to be a big fire alarm going off. So another one's reaching the target here. They got like another flashing light because it looks like you get to a certain wheelhouse of output, and you're looking at this, and none of these players get below a certain level of what we're looking for. So the lowest in terms of the shots is Diaz, and that's fractional. 2.3 shots for Diaz, 2.9 for Nunez per 90 minutes on this. In terms of goals, in actual goals, the lowest was Jota, just at 0.39. Nunez is at 0.7. Key passes, Salah is way ahead here compared to everybody else, and on the assists. But Darwin is right in the middle of the other three players of Mane, Jota, and Diaz. So you're looking at creativity. He's still creating for other forwards as well, and it's the same with his assists per 90 minutes as well. Just a tick below Salah on the assists, which is great news. On the dribbles, Mane and Jota are the standouts here with 4.6, 4.7 per 90, which is astonishing, really, even more than Diaz. But Nunez is just under Salah as well, which is also encouraging there on the dribbles. Dribble completion, Diaz is king with 64%, which is just ridiculous for completion rate for dribbles. That's like Wilfried Zaha levels, I think, of completion. But Nunez is at 55, which is like Sadio Mane at Southampton, same there. On the defensive side, we always want to see some signs that the player is not going to be a passenger and has to contribute to in a Klopp system to the off-ball work. And just in terms of the tackles plus interceptions per 90 minutes, he's at 1.1. Salah was at 1.2, Jota 1.4. Only Sadio Mane was significantly more than everybody else there with 2.7. His goal involvement is fantastic. And again, the shot conversion here, all the players, minimum shot conversion was Mane, 14.4% at Southampton. Nunez is at 24% over the last two seasons with Benfica, and again references shot accuracy as well. Again, the highest the bunch here, 45% shot accuracy, and then the lowest there was Diaz with 37. And I think that after watching him for half a season at Liverpool, that kind of makes sense now. To be honest, he does not get as much on target as those other players. But yeah, so looks to me like this boy he's doing all the right things. Si.
He does. Shot accuracy is interesting to me, and we don't post shot from Portugal, which we see the level of keeper he's facing.
No, against this and the Benfica keeper, they were shocking.
Yeah,
both of them were absolutely shocking.
They really were. But he also had two phenomenal finishes against the English teams against us. So I think he has a lot of talent. I wonder. I don't know what you think. That it was interesting. You referenced Zaha from a dribbles perspective because. He is an elite dribbler, but also he gets to play in broken play all the time. So he's playing constantly against isolated fullback. With 55 meters of space right behind him. And that's not how we play. We don't. Mo gets the ball, and he's got 10 meters at most behind whichever two fullbacks and a centre back he's facing. So it's much harder to break. Our dribble numbers are higher when we're 1-0 up and we've got the opportunity to counter.
Or it's a basketball match.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he is much more used to that. So it's going to be, his numbers are going to come down without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
But he is still very good at this skill. And I want to see the kind of dribbler he is, because I've seen him do some fancy step overs. He's not quite Ronaldo when he was at United level, but if he can create separation, and then the most important thing I see from a tight packed defense is to be able to create enough separation either way in either direction for you to get a pass or a shot off.
Yeah.
Rather than actually beating your man.
That brings us on very nicely to the highlights of the Y Scout scouting report say, and I'm going to put the first one in the chat I liked, which was the dribbles. Click on this in the live show chat, guys, and because this is really nice stuff from the Y Scout guys, and this is exactly the kind of thing you're talking about. And it's like where does he dribble, what does he do with it, and who's he up against? And I think it's if first of all it shows you how much he likes to pull out to the left hand side, doesn't it? Say.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, if you look at his high, there's a bunch of those Divock Origi, Thierry Henry light moments that he's picking the ball up on the corner of the penalty box and faking out, dropping in, and trying to curl the ball. Like Diaz does the same stuff, doesn't he? But probably a little bit quicker. So he's got that in his locker. But I liked that he was going left as well as right sometimes and pulling the ball back.
Yeah,
but he played with shit strike partners, so there was no one in the box to score.
But Y Scouts have got him as 9 goals following dribbles in the last 12 months. And you can see them all. They're the blue diamonds on this list.
Well, the crazy thing is, despite him being the most marked and fouled player on the planet, Mo has the highest number of goals from dribbles.
Do you know what his was this season? Do you know any ideas for context?
I don't. I don't have the Liverpool sheet open. 8.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but it's at 9 in a year. Is a good number, isn't it, for goals following?
Yeah. It's a very good number.
Yeah. So I mean, that means if you are going to get into a counter-attacking situation, or even just a one-on-one situation in normal play, I mean, it's no defender's going to be able to rest easy in this situation, are they? No centre back.
Yeah, Mo had 8.
Yeah, nice.
Which led the league. So that's the context for what Darwin, the kind of player Darwin is. Imagine him playing alongside Mo. Then you got 1 and 8 pulling out left, 1 and 8 pulling out right.
Yeah.
Wrong foot. Good luck with that.
Yeah. And the next one I put in is it's just how he progresses the ball, and it's fair to say, just like say Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain or Naby Keita, he's a carrier. He's not a dribbler. He's a carrier. He's not a passer.
Yeah. But it goes to the transition thing. I think there's an opportunity in this, but maybe you're right. I just think it's hard for us to have any real objective conclusion on this because it's about playing style and opportunity.
Yeah.
But he definitely has the ability to be a carrier for sure.
Yeah.
We don't know if he has the ability to be the passer too.
Was there anything in the Y Scout profile that you particularly caught your eye?
No, it was the dribble location that I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, should we look at the really fun stuff? His finishing map. I mean, the thing that stands out there is straight away is look how many shots are in the corner. That is fantastic. If we have the post shot XG on those, that's a really good thing. That's like a tennis player going for the corners of the box on serve, isn't it? Si?
It's the quality of going for the lines, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is tremendous, and that's the kind of thing that can explain a 29% shot conversion in the last 12 months and an overperformance of 11 goals against.
Imagine having these maps for Robbie Fowler.
Oh, back in the day, yeah. But yeah,
he genuinely used to hit side netting with most of his shots.
Yeah, One thing on this, which will be included, of course, pens. He's perfect in his career from pens. He's 10 from 10 in his career, which is always nice thing to have in your wheelhouse, isn't it?
But yeah, it is. But we already discussed the quality of Portuguese goalkeeping.
Yeah. He's got an aerial threat, as you would expect with a player of that physique.
Yeah, I honestly, I am the least scouting of potential players. But from looking at, I've watched maybe 40 minutes of videos this afternoon, and I've seen him play 4 times. And I've seen him head the ball, but he doesn't. He looks more imposing than Divi, but he's not Torres in the air. So he's a big physical lad, but I think we're more likely to see stuff on the ground. He is not like Zeko. He just happens to be big. So I don't know if they can convince him to be like a big, tall, powerful lad, or he's just going to be a more complete, I don't know, Shevchenko, just a taller Shevchenko.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. We put a lot of crosses in, but we don't. I don't know. Diogo scores a lot of goals from headers, doesn't he? I suppose, and so he's not a big lad. So there's opportunity for him for sure.
Yeah, well, he can learn from the best, can't he? So
it's more about positioning than actual like power of neck muscles and ability to head a ball. If you get in the right positions, if you make near post runs and get separation between the two defenders on the far post, you're going to get fairly simple headers, and sometimes they're going to go in. If you watch most headers in the Premier League, they don't go in where they were targeted. Yeah. So how many headers do you see that come off a shoulder? But that's the extreme. But you see that 20 times a season. A lot of the time, it's just headed towards goal, and it's willingness to head the ball more than actual ability to put it into the top corner with a curl, like you occasionally see.
Yeah. Thanks for Olkin Cole for posting the stats bomb. Nunez versus Mane as well. That's a really nice overlay, isn't it, for comparison there, Si, on the Nunez and Mane. The only thing that Mane is really clear on there is the pressures, but like that, that'll be interesting to see what happens with Darwin when he's played a year under Klopp.
Yeah, it's just opportunity.
But yeah, that's a very promising radar. Thank you very much for that, Richard. Okay, lastly, Si, the stuff that you're most interested in of all this is the tactics and the evolution. What do you think this means for the team?
That's what the whole thing. I'm just fascinated by it, like because he's such a different type than we have. He has a different skill set, though a couple of overlapping. He tends to be a more transition-based forward than I would have thought we needed, if that makes sense. Because we 3-4 years ago, we used to transition was our biggest weapon.
Yes.
And now we have so 4 years ago we averaged 54% possession. This season, nearly 68.
Yeah.
Like we have so much of the ball in the final third now. We're ostensibly we have City's dominance over a game. We just once we get there, we create in different ways to them. So both I find it fascinating. Both Klopp and Guardiola at the same time have basically bought the same lad, and it's one that they've played deliberately without for 3, 4, 5 years.
But we always say that football is cyclical. Football.
Yeah.
The eras of football change because the other teams change, tactics evolve. They become adept at nullifying one with the predominant way.
We see this in baseball right now. I know you follow baseball. We've got a bunch of people that listen that are not from England that all know what I'm talking about. But like historically, you would throw the ball to the bottom of the zone. So the bowlers would throw the ball low, because hitters would bounce the ball on the floor and the fielders would get them out. And then basically through analytics, through super high velocity cameras, they managed to see a gap in how a player would swing and a weakness in an area, and so they started to throw the ball much higher, right at the top of the zone, and it changed completely the way hitters tried to face that and tried to hit the ball for home runs. And now all of a sudden, there's a couple of really soft throwing lads that are throwing the ball low again, and you'd expect that these incredible hitters would just be able to hit that because it's 20 mile an hour softer or whatever than the 100 mile an hour they're used to facing. But because they aren't used to it, they aren't conditioned to doing that thing, it's a strength. So maybe that sides are coming to terms with how to defend in a low block against swift interchanging, switching side to side, because we're the biggest switching side in the league, and then trying to create space that way so you can get into the hot zone and create a pullback like City do, to eights flooding the box through specific timing of whoever is the insurgent into the box. And maybe there is the need for the physical threat that we didn't have, that we've been playing without. Maybe so there are more sides in the Premier League now with faster centre-backs, smaller centre-backs, and they're better at controlling space, but they aren't as good at fighting a physical guy. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we spent all last year talking about the high line, and but City, when they played Spurs both times, they got absolutely shredded by Tottenham on the counter-attack, just as we did. And maybe Guardiola's fed up with playing 55 metres from his own goal and getting hit with sucker punches from Harry Kane. And maybe the goal is to play a more conventional line and then go back to having a centre forward to occupy defenders and play in a far more conventional way. I mean,
so what that would actually mean is there will be periods in a game where you'll see City and Liverpool strategically drop 20 metres and not bother to press.
Yeah.
And so that they're try to entice a team out, whether they will or whether they'll just play the ball around at the back in absolute sterile possession for 20 minutes at a time. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah. But that's going to be the challenge. And then once they get over the halfway line, then we'll swarm them like lunatics, and hopefully catch that half-court counter attack.
But you could easily see maybe from a high line to a mid block, for example. We don't know what we'll be really interested to see what happens with both teams, won't it?
Yeah. But I think it's really interesting that both of them have done it. Is what I
for sure. Do you think the fans seem to be getting very excited about 4-2-3-1? I think this means, as in, I don't know. I mean, first of all, let's acknowledge that basically Klopp played 4-2-3-1 for 6 years at Dortmund, right? That was his predominant formation.
Yeah.
He's obviously very comfortable with it historically. I think it's fair to say that 4-3-3 at Liverpool, everybody thought he was going to do 4-2-3-1, but I think it's probably because he looks at the squad and then this is the best way to go with these players.
But if you look, we've talked about this so many times, that if you look at heat maps in possession, that what you will see is largely you'll see a box around the halfway line of the two centre backs, and from Klopp at 4-2-3-1, you'll see two midfielders creating a box, and then you'll see five ahead of them, basically. Yeah. And that's the way we play anyway. So it's just how you get from one to the other.
Yeah.
It's how you get from, so you have without possession, deep without possession, you'll get with possession high, and then you'll get positive and negative transitions. And you'll have different formations for those four parts of the game.
Yeah.
And people get really caught up in what a team looks like. I don't even know, because you don't see it in a kickoff, but what a team looks like on a paper.
Yeah.
So it's all about roles and how you progress the ball through each zone of the pitch.
Yes.
And what they're ostensibly, the difference in all of these things are two things really, is does our centre forward drop and allow our wide forwards to run in beyond, or is the 9 going to push high and make runs in behind?
Which way round is the V going to? Is it going to be a V, or is it going to? Yeah, where is the 9 going to be? Yeah.
Is it going to be a V or a pyramid? Yeah.
I was going to suggest. I was going to say. That was going to be one of my questions for you. I was going to say, does this mean that we have effectively given up on trying to have the Bobby replacement? Because if we could have got Bobby 2015, would we have signed that player and then carried on with 4-3-3?
That makes sense.
But we couldn't get that player, so therefore we've gone the other way.
Well, I think maybe Klopp sees his system in that it needs these specific traits to interact with one another to produce this appropriate chemistry that leads to success. And I wonder if there is less penalty box penetration from Diaz than peak Mane.
Yes.
And so you're going to need more from the centre forward or from Mo.
Yes.
But if you don't, the not having peak Bobby means you need more creativity from one of them as well. And you're going to get that from Mo. So he's going to be less penetrative into the box or inside the box. So you're going to need it from somebody else. You're going to need that to be made up from both peak Mane and peak Mo. So that's where the centre forward comes in. So I think Mo is going to join up more than he has done. Well, he actually did a lot last season, to be fair.
I agree.
And in big moments, he was the one that was. He's our creator for sure. Our attacking playmaker.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah. No, and I also think that what you said was a very perceptive observation about Diaz versus peak Mane, and in terms of he's definitely more of the wide player than the forward player, isn't he? Diaz.
Yeah. I think Mane's first thought is get the ball off, get in the box.
Yeah, because he's always been a scorer, not a creator, Mane. Always.
Yeah.
So the other thing,
where does Diogo come into this? What do you reckon?
Well, I just think he can play everywhere. Right. So just the main one on the 4-2-3-1. I agree with you. What you described, the outer possession, essentially with a double pivot. Anyway, I guess the fundamental change will be the third player, whether it's the attacking 8. When Naby plays the attacking 8, we've basically seen him playing alongside the centre forward, haven't we? In the double false 9 position with the pressing. Yeah, like case exhibit A would be the Carling Cup final against Chelsea and the League Cup FA Cup semi-final against Man City. Absolutely two fantastic performances where he basically played as a the double false 9 position off the ball. Right now, whether you have somebody like Keita or Curtis Jones or Harvey Elliott as that third attacking 8, or whether you have a fourth attacker as very much a 10. Now, in Klopp's Dortmund teams, this was very much either Shinji Kagawa or Mario Götze. Yeah. What do you see? Obviously, Bobby could play that role if he's fit, right? Si, who else do you think is on there could fit into that role?
I think Mo played that role when he was at Roma.
I was going to ask you, would you like to see Mo Salah in that role?
Yeah. Probably. And is he
pressing 10, hard-working 10. Yeah, not a luxury 10.
Yeah, just doing the things he does already. I think he's always going to come from the right, though. So he's just his role. Instead of getting into the box first, he's going to drop in and try and find space that is going to allow Darwin to get in. Yeah,
and obviously the new lad we just signed from Fulham, he basically played an entire season in that position behind the Serbian fella, Mitrovic. And Mitrovic broke the championship goal scoring record, didn't he?
Yeah, phenomenally. Yeah. But not mostly from assists from Carvalho though.
No.
But Carvalho was really good at arriving late in the box for crosses. I wonder. I find the Carvalho signing really, really interesting because he's a kid. People get really excited about kids. And as brilliant a kid as a 19-year-old can be, Liverpool maybe they're definitely one of the three best teams in the world. Kids don't play in one of the three best teams in the world.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to break into that.
Well, I would just say Harvey Elliott went to Blackburn on loan, came back, and then he was a fixture in the team at the start of the season. And
I honestly, I think that was a little bit of a Chelsea myth as well. I think he did some really nice things, and I think it was circumstance based. I don't think he was actually ever that high on the depth chart for Klopp.
I was just going to
felt like he was first choice, and he wasn't ever.
I was just going to say that only thing I was going to say, if Elliott can come back and make an impact as well, Carvalho had basically a much better season statistically than Elliott did for a better team, and he played a lot more minutes. So he's I think he's a year older as well. So
he is. But I think we have a very complex system which Harvey has had lots of time to practice. So I would guess Harvey is further along than higher up than Carvalho.
So if we are going to play a 4-2-3-1, you think the best candidates for 10 would either be Bobby or Mo, yeah? And that will give you the option to play Jota right, Diaz left, and Nunez through the middle.
Yeah.
Okay. The reason I said about Jota is he's the most two-footed player in the team, say. You know, he's very comfortable on right or left, and he's comfortable playing the most advanced the centre forward position as well. So I think he's utility cover across any of the positions.
And he can be brilliant. He is. People get like, I don't know. I think they misread Mane. Because he does some silky stuff, and he looks more skillful than Jota. But their capacity to go past a player is very similar.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
but you just don't see like Mane is not an assist. He doesn't create big chances. And
this
Jota
is what we said
either.
All the season. We said this, didn't we? That neither Jota or Mane, when they were playing at the centre forward, they were not close to peak Bobby in terms of the overall contribution from the centre forward role, were they? Yeah.
No, exactly. And Mo, despite having the most touches in the box and being the most targeted player in the box, also had the most through balls.
Mm.
And you can't pass to himself.
Yeah.
So maybe Darwin is a target for Mo.
Yeah. The idea of putting Salah in the 10, personally, that really excites me, Si. I don't know about you. Get him essential from this.
It is exciting, but I also think that having Naby going inside out, like last season, but a little bit more expanded, and having Darwin up and Mo coming in more deliberately straight in towards the middle of the space of in between the lines in Bobby's spot, because there's going to be more space there because Darwin is committing the defenders.
Yeah.
I think that leaves Mo in a much greater options than he had before, because he's going to have Keita in the half space to his right. He's going to have Trent around to his right to feed, and then he's going to have Darwin and potentially Diaz or Jota coming in off the left to pick out, and he loves that path. Whoever's cutting in from the left.
Yeah. Now, my last question to you was going to be that my prediction is going to be that we start the very first match of next season, in the first competitive match, in a 4-3-3.
Yeah,
I don't think we see 4-2-3-1 in the league straight away. It might be something we work on in the cups, like League Cup or the early rounds of the Champions League or something. But I think it's going to be, because there's absolutely no reason why Nunez can't play through the middle in a 4-3-3. Absolutely not, is there?
No. So I don't even think it's going to be a thing. I think it's going to be a change of role rather than a change of formation. If that, I think Mo is going to be coming in more.
Right. So Trent will stay wide
into the 10 space rather than playing as a 10 and somebody on the right. And I think playing Jota on the right is going to be a break glass. And we've got 4 strikers. Bobby, I've never been convinced by Bobby as a 10. I think he's been a much better 9 than he ever played as a 10 for Liverpool. And let's not forget about him.
I agree. But if Mo comes inside more as the deepest of the three forwards, do you see in those situations Trent staying much closer to the touchline, much wider position?
Well, I think we have specific spaces that need filling. And I think they're just going to be a rejigging, as there was at the beginning of last season, of who goes where.
Yeah.
So it took a while to get the right 8 into the right spot.
Yeah.
At the right time. That's the key component of this, is you've got to fill the right space at the right time. And that's what we weren't doing, which Naby kind of did by the end of the season. And so it's basically up to the 8, as it was last season, to judge when we've got fixed possession and high possession. And that's when they move, when we've got safety in behind. And they were going too early before last season, which caused us to get into a really dangerous negative, because we hadn't closed the space behind. And I think we're just going to be better at that this season. So it wouldn't surprise me if we saw Trent come in and out a little bit more. Last season he was just coming in, wasn't he?
Yeah. But the left side pretty much looks after itself, though, doesn't it? You basically got Robbo doing Robbo things with Simi understudy, and then basically, if Diaz isn't there, then Jota can basically just do the same role interchangeably off the left. That's going to look after itself, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I actually weirdly think that that having Darwin up front, it gives more of a target and more of an opportunity to play Tsimikas more often. If that makes sense, because he's actually a better passer, and a better crosser. So playing Darwin means that we have to build in a different way than we did before. So you have to get the ball into the midfield in a more progressive way than we have before, probably a little bit earlier. And Tsimikas is better at that.
Yeah. Anyway, exciting times, Si. Exciting times.
Really is.
Yeah.
Who else do you think we're buying?
I think we could sign another midfielder, particularly more of a 6/8. Whether it's going to be a stellar signing like Nunez, I'm not so sure. Whether it's going to be a numbers cover, especially if Ox goes, and I think it's more to do with the Fab and Thiago positions, isn't it? So we don't want to flog them. You don't want to overplay them. So, but do we have anybody who can really cover the defensive side? I'm not sure we do. Maybe that's the gap.
No, in fairness, I think you're right. I feel like we've been really proactive in the churn in long-term squad planning. So we've bought a couple of lads recently that were probably ahead of the when we meant originally strategized to plan them, in Thiago replacing Ginny a year early, and then Diaz replacing Mane 6 months early, just because the opportunity to sign the right lad came up earlier than we planned. And I think Tchouameni was that guy as well. So we weren't desperate for a midfielder to upgrade. It was just that our long-term strategy of replacing Henderson, or replacing is harsh, of replacing the first team, Jordan Henderson, as Henderson slowly descends into Milner, the Milner role. And I think we probably planned for that to happen next year, but Tchouameni was come now, and he was the guy that he thought they thought best. So I'm not sure we replaced that strategy of buying a midfielder now. I would expect season on season CJ's numbers to go up. I think it's very sensible to believe that Thiago's going to hit the same numbers, if not.
Yeah, you got to say 2,000 minutes for Thiago. You got to say 3,000 for Fab, and then you work it out.
And Naby is going to be. Fab is always over 4,000. I saw a thing
even
the
this
day.
year. Was it even this year?
Yeah, age adjusted minutes. That Fab is top 10 in the world for age adjusted minutes
for his age. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, so he's just a monster.
And we just hopefully get another 2,500 from Naby this year. Push on, keep pushing on.
I don't think so. I think he's gonna play. He seems to be fine. Early in the season, he was just out of favour. He was just picked because after the whole Real Madrid debacle previous year, when I thought he was going to be off, I couldn't believe it. Whatever. Whenever he came back from Africa, a different player. He played as a first choice player, as in the first choice role of that, and I'll be really surprised if he progressed beyond there. So I'm looking at a good, well over 3,000 minutes for him. I think he'll be one of the midfield. And I don't want to diminish his responsibility and comfort and confidence in the team of being a first choice player by adding somebody else that we don't really need, because we might need to mitigate Henderson in it.
Yeah. Final question, Si, for you. Obviously, we have to be objective about these things. There is a level of risk involved in this transfer, but hopefully we've given enough evidence there to show that I think we've done our homework. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on Julian Ward, because you tweeted out the other day, didn't you?
Did I do what?
You tweeted about Julian Ward, our new guy.
Oh yeah. He's. I think it's interesting that we're swimming in his pool basically right now. So if I think the pool in which we're currently swimming is the highest chance of success, given his expertise in Portugal.
Because he used to be employed by Benfica
and Portugal.
Yeah, and Portugal national team. Okay.
Yeah. He was working with whatever his name is, Queiroz, and So he's been in the Portuguese Federation. So he speaks Portuguese. He knows He has lots of contacts there. He is fully ingrained in the club and player setup over there. So he knows this stuff. So having bought two lads from Portugal, the two best players in Portugal. I'm fully expecting him to hit the ground like Diaz was, but with better finishing.
But one of the good things about that, though, Si, if he's got such strong links in Portugal, it's the gateway to Brazil from a European perspective. And that's just magical, isn't it? Dual nationality and all that, and I mean, I just so it's to paraphrase a classic rock track, it's meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
Amen. He's doing a great job so far.
Yeah. All right. Okay. And that's been your ad and Darwin Nunez under pressure. I can't even speak. I'm so excited. So Darwin Nunez under pressure special. Hope you enjoyed that. As always, give us your feedback, please. We love it, guys. And especially, we will see you on the UP Discord channel. And we will be back next week with more UP specials throughout the summer. Okay, until the next time, up the Reds.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at anfieldindex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.